right, we've got more news, breaking news right now coming out of Washington, particularly Capitol Hill, where a bipartisan gun bill that will enact the first significant gun reform in nearly 30 years has just passed the House. We're learning it passed the House 294 to 193, I believe, was the final vote. Let's get you straight out to congressional correspondent Stephanie Liebergan, who's been live in Washington, standing by with this news. So there was a moment, Stephanie, when I believe that House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and the GOP whip Steve Scalise were coming out opposing this and saying that they didn't want House Republicans to vote for it. Bring us up to speed on the final vote.
Hey, Veronica. Well, the final vote tally, to get those numbers right, was 234 to 193. So even though the House Republican leadership was, it's called whipping against the vote, even though the House Republican leadership was encouraging their members to vote no on the bill, there were 14 Republicans in the House who decided to join the entire Democratic caucus to vote yes to support this bill. Now, keep in mind, this bill had pretty wide bipartisan support on the Senate side of things. There were 15 Republicans in the Senate, and there's only 100 members there, versus 14 Republicans in the House, where there's far more, Republican members. So, when you look at the percentage of the party in both chambers, it's a much smaller percentage of Republicans that joined the Democrats on the House side. But the bill did get through. It was a bipartisan vote. We just didn't know how many Republicans were going to buy into it. And now the bill, because the House did not make any changes, it's identical, has passed both chambers, now heads to President Biden's desk next for a signature. The biggest bill really in almost 3 decades on gun-related legislation from Congress.
No, that's absolutely right, Stephanie. I know that you watched the Senate vote very closely, and this vote is taking place extremely close to the midterm elections. How do you think this is going to affect the midterm elections?
I think this is definitely going to be a win for Democrats in terms of finally getting something done. That they were pushing the conversation, getting something done on gun legislation and gun reform with all the mass shootings that the country continues to suffer year after year. It's been a big priority for Democrats, but Republicans haven't really been coming to the table. And with that 60-vote filibuster threshold in the Senate, Democrats needed Republicans to come to the table. So while this is a big win for Democrats, I think for the Republicans who were part of those bipartisan negotiations, the Republicans who helped bring this deal to, final passage in both chambers, it's also a win for them as well. And some of them are in really gun-favored states. The key negotiator in the Senate, Senator John Cornyn, is from Texas, a very, gun-friendly state. So I'll be curious to see, how his constituents feel about his participation. But a lot of the other Republican members are people who are frequently part of this conversation and got the support of the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. So strong support in the Senate, not so much on the House side, but I think this is a big win for Democrats that they can take to the ballot box in November. Will certainly be something that will be important for Democrats, but with the abortion and Supreme Court ruling today, that is also going to be a big push for Democrats as something that they'll take to the ballot box and that they want to be a voting issue for people when they decide in November.
I know this is all just happening right now, Stephanie, but what has a reaction been like so far? I know the House vote just took place, but it did pass the Senate last night. What has a reaction been like, especially on the Republican side? You were saying that this bill did have the support of the Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. What have Republicans been saying?
Republicans have been coming down, along the lines of how they voted. So the Republicans who voted yes for the bill in the Senate have been, of course, applauding their own votes, saying that this was a good thing. Republicans have been continuing to talk about this bill, saying that it's a mental health and school safety bill, have been the phrases that we've been hearing from Republican leadership. They're not the ones calling it a gun reform or a piece of gun legislation. They're really focusing on the mental health and the school safety parts of this bill. Well, Democrats kind of doing the opposite. They're focusing on the gun-specific legislation, the background checks, the red flag laws. Those are the things that Democrats are most excited about to have in this bill. So even though it was a bipartisan bill and even though the negotiations were fraught at times, but they did ultimately find points of agreement and find a way to move forward, the way they're presenting the bill back to their constituents' homes, still definitely falling a bit on party lines.
All right, Newsy congressional correspondent Stephanie Liebergan, we appreciate the update, Steph. Thank you so much.